BlastMusic247.com. We're changing the industry one artist at a time.
Hello, hello, hello. It's your girl Melikia K, Courtney, and this is SXP MetaMorphosis 365. Tonight we're going to have a great conversation with men on the topic of men's mental health. I will not be guiding this conversation. In fact, am going to do the disappearing act so the men can handle this. Chat on chat. What else is to be known? So I pushed some buttons again, you guys. And I'm trying to figure out how to mitigate that echo. I don't know how. Okay, great. Oh well. We start the show like we always do, with the strongest amount of gratitude that we can bring. I thank God for my sunshine Cromwell. If you've not had a chance to meet her, do. Fridays at 7 p.m. She has her podcast, Shine Vibrations, right here on Blast Music 247. So with that, I'm going to introduce the guests who are under the bus hosts and taking over tonight's SXP Metamorphosis 365. Episode 82, I think. Okay. So I'm about to push in some buttons. Let's see. Button number 1. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome.
Hey, partner. How are you?
I am pushing buttons. Button number 2. Hello, 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 and welcome.
What's going on, y'all? Hey.
Uh-oh. So I'm rolling. The updates for this app were a side-by-side. You can do it vertical and horizontal, right? So I didn't know what to choose, so I chose both to see what would occur. And it is hilarious on this side. So I hope you guys are having a better time of it over there.
Just so you know, I don't hear an echo on my side.
Oh, that's beautiful news.
I don't either. And I just want to say that I'm like right in the middle of you and Father Time over there, so it works out. And then we got the comments on the bottom. There you go.
Okay, and all
Looks
is
like
well.
it's working.
Okay, perfect. So, with that having been said, thank you for saying yes to coming and having the conversation. I thought it was important to have men speak on men's mental health. Yes, I am a coach, a teacher, trainer, speaker, the whole nine of that. I have my opinions. I have my trainings. But I think it's good to hear from the MENS. So, without delay, I'm going to hand the microphone over to you, Sir Scott. And I would ask you to introduce yourself, and from there, pass it to Logan to introduce himself. And in game time, kick off. I'm going downstairs. I'll be back.
Well, before you head off, let me just say thank you for entrusting your platform to us to have this conversation. Thank you for considering us so that we could have this conversation. It's better to be able to talk than be talked about, even if it's with good intention. So as you start every show with gratitude, I offer gratitude to you for that.
Thank you. Much received. It's on you.
So my name is
Scott.
My name is Scott Harrell, aka Father Time in the poetry streets. I am the owner and founder of Harrell Consulting Group, a business consulting firm specializing in business funding poetry-wise. I am the co-founder, along with Melikia K, Courtney, aka Lady Molotov, of Partners in Rhyme, where we do lyrical vibes, and we've been doing it for the last 5 years on Clubhouse. And I will say to my partner joining me this evening, Arrows, Logan Walker, happy birthday, Marine, as I hand you the microphone.
Semper Fi, happy birthday, fellow devil dog. Also happy Veterans Day to you and to every veteran out there. In the drip, out of the drip, in the world. It is trying times, and we definitely need to remember to give gratitude and praise to everybody, not just those who are living, but those who have passed on. Hi, y'all. I am, as he said, Eros, aka Logan Walker, aka the Levitating Leviathan, aka Beelzebub, aka Chef's Kiss, aka I got 1,000 more monikers. We're not here for that today. We're here to talk about men's mental health. Chef, poet, author, and one of the other partners in rhyme, also partners in crime, with Scott Harrell and Melikia Courtney on Lyrical Vibes every Friday, 8 p.m. That's my intro.
Thank you so much, sir. So, getting started with this conversation, I think, it's good to set a baseline. So, let me just ask you, when you hear men's mental health, what thought does that immediately inspire for you?
Coveted secrets. Like,
That is a poetic answer in and of itself. That's a prompt, but please expand.
coveted secrets. Um, Whenever I hear men's mental health, it's always a topic that isn't really talked about. It's kind of like taboo. It's something we need to be more aware of, but no one really knows how to tackle that because there is the stigma that guys and men are just meant to be okay. You can't not be okay. You're not allowed to like feel things. You're not allowed to go through things. So like you've got generations of people who are stuck in that mindset, and then you've got those that are emotionally intelligent and working their way through the feelings that are saying, hey, it's okay to not be okay. So like coveted secrets is literally just a secret on men's mental health that is gradually like people try to protect it and cover it up, but it's also something that we need to be aware of and talk about.
You know, for me, and I'm sorry for dropping out there for a moment, of course, a call would come in. Um, for me, the one word that comes up, and I must say the description you gave was great. Um, the one word that comes up is veneers, similar to what's put on the teeth, because it's and I hate to say this, but I think it's shared by many men. Um, when I think of men's mental health, or at least other people thinking of it, it's tends to be that surface level, if you would, or maybe that extra check of, when we get together, you good? Yeah, you good? Okay. And then saying it maybe a second time. It's rarely ever that deeper dive, or even how to get to that deeper dive of what does that good mean, when you say you're good. And I think, because I've been giving this some thought this week, um, that is an excellent point, maybe, or entry point, drop off point, jump point to start in. Um, when men get together and quote unquote talk, or at least ask, how are you? And, get the 99% response of, I'm good. Rarely is it ever thought about. And I think this point for Men's Mental Health Month needs to be considered than just the response, just the check-in, because they say, check on your strong friends. Well, you have to measure what you're checking to know how it's doing, right? So when
True.
you hear, I'm good, okay, but what is that good based on? What is that good measured against? You say you're good. Why? Um, for a lot of men, and I think that's a real crucial question. Even if someone says they're good, if you ask them, they may tell you, because I'm functioning, or because I have to be, or because, um,
I
I took
don't know
on.
what life looks like when I'm not good.
There are probably a lot of frightening statements that could follow that one sentence of "I'm good" if they ask why or what that means. So, if I were to ask you that follow up question, if you tell me you're doing good, how do you measure your good?
So I got two very different answers to this question. One, like previously, whenever somebody would ask how I'm doing, I would be like, I'm good. Regardless of what was going on, regardless of like circumstances, obstacles in life, my answer was universally, I'm good. And
Hmm.
when they asked, like, well, what do you mean you're good? I was like, I don't know what life is like to not be good, to not be okay, to not be functioning, to not have that like drive to be able to just get up and go. It's a very subconscious autopilot response that you're not really consciously thinking of things, you're not addressing your problems, you're not addressing your issues. You're just, I'm good. I'm good until I'm not, and no one really knows what they look like when they're not. So now the real answers to the question is when I'm like, I'm good, I could, there's a chance that I could be good, but I'm learning to vocalize that and be like, look, I don't really know what I am right now, but I'm good. I'm in a good place. Um, I'm I'm kind of in between headspaces, like it's if you can't describe the word, you can't describe the feelings, you can't like rationalize it for yourself. It's okay to say, I'm good. I don't really know what that looks like for the follow through with like the why are you good or how to measure it. But like for right now, mind is calm. I'm processing things. So as I process things, I will let you know the best I can what I actually am feeling and where I am, or just simply saying I'm not good. I can't really give you an answer to that, but like I will be good. It's a learning curve and understanding how you feel as you feel it.
I appreciate you sharing that because it's very true. I think many of us are driven from the function standpoint. As long as we're functioning, that equates to being good. And to be able to start differentiating between the two just because I am functioning or able to move forward or able to get up out of bed, wash my behind, go to work, does not inherently mean that I am good or I am well or I am happy or I am all of those things. That does not equal the sum total of my emotions. Um, and, even then in turn, as often as I don't want to say hide it because I don't think everybody is intentionally concealing it from the world. It's many are just from the way we've been raised, but how we cloak our response can even cloak it to ourselves after a while. But to start doing the work like you're describing and to peel back the layers of difference between functional and emotional, I think is critical because otherwise you're just like you said, you're moving until you're not, and that's a breakdown. And I don't think having only those two dials of function and stop are good.
Definitely. I think a lot of men have just those two settings. And it could be something as simple as they've never been put in a space to feel safe exploring anything else but those two modes where you're functional or you're not. And it comes with like hesitation. Do I really want to be vulnerable? Will I be seen as being weak for expressing these emotions? Like, can I trust that in expressing these emotions and these feelings that it's not going to turn around and bite me? So a lot of times it's easier to just push those emotions out of like your mind and just suppress them. That way you don't stop moving, you don't stop working, you continue on with the everyday life. You kind of like robotic, like it becomes a automated system within like your internal memory, your conscious, where you're just doing things. You're going through the motions. That like you start to lose the feeling of things that you love doing, and then it just becomes the same mundane repetition day after day until you break. And then even when you're breaking, you're still working to suppress whatever originally was the ailment, but you're now suppressing the fact that you're having a breakdown, the fact that you are melting down so that you can continue to work. And it's like you're putting a band-aid over a crater, hoping that it's going to stop whatever is happening. And then, that's why everybody's like, hey, check on your strong friends. Like, check on the friends who are always smiling. Check on those who don't seem like they get mad. Like they carry a lot of weight on the shoulders and they may not talk about it, or they just feel the need with the hero complex that they have to shoulder everything on their own and they can't sit up there and talk to you or anyone because they don't want to burden you with what's going on with them. So they're going to take and take so that you all and the people they care about continue to smile, and it's sad.
And and I think a big piece of that too that you alluded to, not only within the not wanting to be weak, but also guilt. There's so much guilt either from, you know, if you've been raised by someone who's been able to do it and didn't have to show this, didn't have to, they didn't have a breakdown. So why do you need to have a breakdown? They did. Or if you hadn't been raised, you owe it to those who did raise you and did get you to this point that, anybody you didn't see break down, or are you going to be better than that? Or the people who are looking upon you now. And there is so much built in cyclically to the man's psyche to work against opening up that heart and feeling what's being felt, sharing what's being felt, dealing with it, and just stay in a mode of movement to be the cog in the wheel that keeps things going, to be the foundation that can hold everything up, to be the roof that covers everybody. um, and to feel bad in any way that you possibly fall short in doing it. So to me, men's mental health, while I appreciate it and I absolutely believe it's necessary, it's such a deep, complex dive beyond just checking on your strong friends. Because people who you are seriously wanting to help, you'll look them in the face and they need it, but they don't even know how to respond to that help that's being offered out to them. You know, um, uh, I, uh, if you feel transparent enough, in what we've discussed thus far, have you felt those moments personally when, um, someone has asked you, are you good? And you were going through but you felt it was your responsibility, not only to yourself, but that person to let them know you're good, because you didn't want them even emotionally carrying the weight of whatever it is that you're having to deal with that you feel responsible for as a man.
Um, so number one, I'm snitching to Malikia. I'm telling your partner on you for the question. Um,
What you do? You've known me long.
I'm
Me.
telling Malikia for the question asked because I feel like y'all know me well enough to know this answer. That's crazy work. Malikia, get your partner. But
What?
um, I I definitely was that person. Um, Still am that person in some aspects where I have this complex about me that like I want to help everybody. Like I will give you the shirt off my back even if I've already given it to somebody else. I will be that guy to fall on the sword, to like fall on the grenade. I will take all of the like weight that I can so that everybody else is good. And like there have been countless times where I would be asked like, "Hey, are you okay? Like something's off with your energy. Just wanted to like check in on you, make sure you're good." And I'd be like, "Yeah, no, I'm great." They could like hear about something bad that happened, and they'd be like, "Yo, are you straight? I just heard that like your dad, like when my dad passed or something, like you and Malikia like reached out. Everybody was like, "Hey, are you okay? Are you good, bro? Like, how are you handling this?" And I was like, I'm fine, like I don't really know a world that exists where I'm not okay. Like I could lose my job. I could be like going through Armageddon and everything and just my mind, the way it works and the way it has worked was like, look, things could always be worse. There's someone who's always going through worse than you. Persevere, push through it, like keep moving. Don't stop, don't falter, don't fall. So like automatic response to that question was I'm good, I'm straight. I don't know a life or like an existence where I'm not okay, regardless of what I'm going through, regardless of what's going on. That's just the automated answer. It creates a falsified cocoon and like a little um oblivious bubble of protection that's not really protecting you from anything because you still feel those feelings. But instead of having a support system around you to help you process those feelings and to feel that, you kind of inflict more damage on your subconscious because you're forcing yourself to face it alone, and then it just gets higher and higher, and then it becomes a snowball effect until you're like drowning in it. So I'm working on it, like it's a part of my healing journey, and like I express it now through poetry of like things where my mind has like taken dives, or I've felt in those positions where I couldn't really speak on the mental health that I was going through and where I was in my mental health. Um, and I'm always aside myself when like I write those poems and I share them because like the first thing that happens is after people read them, they're like, "Hey, like are you okay? Like, are you thinking about offing yourself?" Because it takes a really dark turn, but there's just a lot of weight
Mm.
that is being shed in that poem or like in the poetry itself. So it's like it's healing. Um, and I'm learning to trust in the connections that I have. I'm learning to lean on friends and family, to not kind of have that all bottled up and whatnot. Like I'm a work in progress. I will still sit there and in the corner quietly while like the entire room's burning around me, and I may on a given day say what's going on, and I may not. I may just watch it burn and be like everything's fine, but we're working through it.
I know and I understand very well. I understand very well. And I appreciate once again you sharing. I think one of the hardest things for men, and a lot of people don't realize this, and I don't want to make this a sexist type conversation, especially on this platform, but it's men's mental health. Um, so I don't think women realize that the depth of relationship that many of them foster when they get around their friends and they literally can talk about anything and will talk about anything. Men, we have that, but when we get together, there's more of a release of steam, having fun and recharging, but not touching that deep emotional level of what's going on. You know, where women may get together and cry out something or really talk through some stuff that's going on. You know, we'll get together, we'll watch a game, we'll play some spades, we'll, you know, barbecue, we'll blow off steam, we'll recharge, but it is not as often as you find that we have that connection, if you would, or that grouping where we reach out and touch that deep level, like, hey, let's, you know, do we need to cry this out? Do we need to, you know, what do we need? Can we just sit amongst each other and, you know, we need to be here to mourn together or whatever it is. It's not as often found, in my opinion.
And I mean, yeah, I also think that like if you're in a group with your boys and everything else like that, a lot of like guys, and this isn't to like say that every guy is going to do this, but a lot of guys get in their head and be like, if I open up and talk about this, like if I say, y'all look, and y'all my boys, I respect y'all, like excuse the language, I fuck with y'all the long ways, like we're that tight in a circle, but I got some heavy shit on my mind. It's almost as if they expect their friends to make light of it and not like understand the gravity or the brevity of what's being said and like what's happening. So then um they kind of shy away from showing their vulnerability. Like if I'd be like, yo, look, man, and I ain't feeling too hot mentally, like I'm going through a breakup, I got all of this going on. Like a guy gonna be like, I mean, bro, there's other women in the sea. Like they gonna make a joke and like try to like just keep it light and airy because we avoid the heavier topics because we're like that's just uncharted territory. Then when you're in those spaces, you know, sometimes it does kind of come off as like if I say this, is it going to be weaponized against me? So like there's a lot of different mental aspects that go on with like why men choose not to do that when they're like letting off steam. Sometimes, like you said, all coming together watching a game. It's not really like the time and conversation to have like a heart to heart, soul to soul, like we dropping weights kind of thing. Like you don't want to sour the mood. So I do think that a large part of that is like we overthink it, we get in our head and we try to like rationalize putting it off and be like, there'll be another day for another conversation. Like we can have this later. I don't want to kill the vibes. Um, I agree with Ronnie Cat that it depends on the age group. Um, some women, they go, they have they like go, they get drinks and they hee ha ha, but they also let off their steam that way. They go get their nails done. That's their time away from their partners to be like, all right, this is what's going on. Or they have like those little girl trips. They have like girl moments where they sit there and do that. It's not as common with men because we're kind of just like, all right, we're about to watch the game, drink some beers. real. I'm fitting to make some better ribs than you. Like, it's a lot easier to just suppress it for a guy than it
So,
is.
so that's the question I wanted to,
And she
um,
came back to get you.
No, she didn't. I'm laughing. That was really funny. I did not come back to get him. I'm really enjoying the conversation that you guys are having, and it's a lot of light bulbs, like a lot of light bulbs on on why y'all do what y'all do. And I had a question, and I didn't know if you could see the little letters would be put in there, so I figured I'd pop up real quick, and I'm going right back away. When it comes to the things that you guys have laid out, like so in such detail with the relationships that you, it's like maintain really, craft and maintain. Is there a out? Like, do you guys have methods in place for you, and have you picked a person? Like, do men do that? I don't even know if y'all do that. Do men pick a person to like have those serious conversations with, or is it just like I'm gonna die with this? Like those, I have so many questions that I'm like, okay, but I'm not gonna just poke holes in the conversation because I'm enjoying the flow. But that I wanted to know. And then the second question, what does work? So those are my two questions. I'm going away. Bye.
so thank you for that. That was going to be part of my actual
How's
question
she gonna drop some
to,
questions in red?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Just, um, I was actually on my way towards pointing some of those questions like that towards you, but since she came in, dropped them, and ran, I'll pick it up first and then offer it to you. If
Drive
that,
by questions, I got you.
huh?
I just said drive by questions, I got you.
Ricky! Oh my! And for those that didn't get that, tough. So to the first question, which was about, do we pick a person, and how does all of that work? I think for some men, and I'll always start out with, in my opinion, and this comes from my experience as a man, which I've been for all of my life. Yeah. Um, uh, I believe when it comes to some of this deeper seated emotion, trauma, things that we are going through, that can be locked away. There can be a hope, if you would, that there will be someone we would find to share it with. Now, for me, um, and I understood this later in life, that I unconsciously, subconsciously believed that the person you fell in love with and started a relationship with and started a marriage and family and all that kind of stuff, that was going to be the person you shared your deepest, darkest things with, and that was it. It wasn't going to be with anybody else. Um, and then, when I found that that's not necessarily the best framework, or the total framework, if you would. Uh, I for me, it's also been about the work, having to value myself enough to put in a work to find where my heart needs to be comfortable to express it. I know that within my group, my circle, what I'm comfortable sharing with, depending upon who I'm with. And I know for certain things that I need to work through, I need to go through this, that, and the other. It is probably the best and wisest for me to have that conversation with somebody I need to have a copay with. Um, because while it's nice being able to cultivate friendships that you trust that can dive that deep, at the end of the day, and I'll say, I think especially for men, it's very difficult to find someone you're comfortable with on a friendship level that you can bare yourself to. Just drop all of the armor that you walk around with all day, and you know short of that person you may be in relationship with. But to also be in a state where you believe you are worth that means that you can do the work and find someone professional that you can audition and talk to. And at the end of the day, I think that that's probably the best of scenarios. But it has to start with feeling that you're worth, that you can go and have that conversation instead of guilty in needing it. As far as coping and mechanisms and things in place, the second question, um, literally before she Houdini'd, just poof, poof. Um,
Alakazam.
yeah, yeah. Um, there are a lot of mechanisms in general that men use, and some that I have learned. But generally speaking, I think there are a lot of men who are just very quiet. Quiet in the sense where you don't hear their heart. You don't know their heart and what's on their mind. They may not only may they not speak on it, there are different things to distract or deflect, whether or not it's um, the comedian. One of the best examples of that is Robin Williams. That man could make a cemetery laugh, and nobody knew how depressed he was, and everyone was shocked when he killed himself. Um, to be the life of the party because you feel it's your responsibility to make everybody else happy, so you're not giving them your weight. To want to do things so you, and I'm going to tell on myself here. Uh, I, I, I don't like quiet. I have never liked quiet. When I go to sleep, there is some form of noise. I have just gotten to the level where I can go to sleep listening to certain hurts or noises that is supposed to help and heal and all that kind of stuff. But forever, I've gone to sleep with the TV on and it's on a sleep cycle where it shuts off after I go to bed. Because being alone, quiet in the dark with my own thoughts was not inviting.
Yeah.
And to have someone else understand that, before even understanding it, the feeling of trying to explain that to someone else, the I feel almost crazy trying to explain it. I feel guilty for this is my problem, not your problem. That I feel small for having the problem in the first place. I feel weak for having to deal with the problem. I feel weird that this is a thing that, all these different inadequacies of even trying to voice it to anyone else. And what ends up happening is men may either have their issue quietly unto themselves or have their issue quietly in another room, if you're sharing space with someone, or you'll find men that, drift away or this, that, and the other because they don't know how to express adequately what's going on within them and don't believe they'll be accepted because they can barely accept it within themselves. Those are some of the coping mechanisms that may not be healthy. But as far as healthy coping mechanisms, and I'll share this and then I'll give you the mic, sir. And I have no idea from the founder and true host of the platform. I'm sure she'll jump in here and say commercial break or whatever, has to be done if we start talking too long. I heard we were going to be here for 4 hours. We'll see.
Trust it. I'm not coming back to do commercial breaks until the conversation is concluding. So go for gold. Bye.
She said, "Go till the rails fall off," and she's gone.
You see that? Literally
Like,
like a Pokemon.
I feel like she could magically make a sandwich appear and then be like,
Man,
"Host and founder, we choose you." There's no sub. And then she vanishes. This is great.
So So I'll end with this as far as coping mechanisms and such, because I want to give you space for your turn. And I'm going to share something that I really have not shared. Being transparent. About a year ago, somewhere within the last year, I had a cardiac event. I was in the hospital for 2 days, and hooked up to a bunch of stuff. Doctors looking all over me, this, that, and the other. Only my mother and my partner knew. That's it. Only they knew. My son to this day doesn't even know. My sons, I should say, don't know. And it was very much feeling like a heart attack. There was concern that it was a heart attack. And after all the checking, and for a period of time, they were going to even, go in and explore my heart, up through a main artery and whatnot, but chose a different scan before they did that and found that there are no blockages. There's no physical reason for your heart to have a problem. And I remember them saying that when they came with their last test. There's no physical reason. Your heart is good. You have no blockages. You have no fat. You have no, all that kind of stuff. So this has to be stress. Oh shit. And I knew I had stress. I'd had massive migraines before. I've been dealing with things, but I never had it that bad where I really felt like there was a possibility I was on my way out. And it scared me. It did. Now there is stress. There is a lot of stress that I still deal with, but I also try my best to balance it out with some level of meditation, some level of prayer, some level of break time for myself, something I can smile with in the day. Because if I don't, and I remember saying this to my partner on more than one occasion, as I was trying to put words to what I was feeling, which was very difficult. But I remember saying, I feel like the very fabric of my reality is fraying at the edges. And my stresses are there. My stresses are increasing for different levels and such. But I am trying personally to do my part, and I don't always get it right, to care for myself enough that it doesn't kill me that day.
That's real. That is absolutely real.
I offer the mic to you, sir, so you can answer the magician's questions.
So before I even jump into answering those questions, I just want you to know on behalf of the other partners who aren't here today right now, i.e. Sunshine, Devlin, Triple P, and the rest of the rowdy crew, we gonna get you. From everybody in the mastermind, everybody in partners around, we gonna get you. Cause we've known you for longer than that time period, and you ain't saying a word. We
But
gonna get you.
isn't that evidence to what we're talking about?
It's
Because
absolutely evidence to what we're talking about,
here's
but
the
we gonna
crazy.
get you.
Here's the
Me specifically, because I know that you have reached out to me, and
yeah.
you are quick to blow up my phone, my
Yes.
Facebook Messenger, my
Yes.
IG, my
Yes.
WhatsApp,
Yes.
um, with the smoke signals, bat signals, everything. The minute
It,
y'all
it,
like differentiate and feel like there's a disturbance in my force, to make sure that I'm okay and living and everything else like that. So we gonna get you.
I, I'm
Um,
gonna take it one further. I was I was in the hospital for 2 days. I don't believe, and my partner will correct me on this if I'm wrong. I don't believe I missed Partners in Rhyme. I don't believe I missed the AM drive at the time that I was doing, and I don't believe I missed Mastermind. I'm not sure, but in the midst of what I was going through, I still felt I had a. And I'm not saying this to throw shade at those things that I did, that I attend and do, because I have love for them. But I also felt a responsibility that, looking back on it, you know, there's a certain level, like, dude, you need to go sit down. Like, if I was,
Exactly. You need to go sit down. And
so
to the point of today's topic, you need to like lean on us. And I got your partner's permission. She said, get them. So we all gonna get you. Um, we all gonna get you. And it's out
um
of love. With all the hugs, the yelling, like, why would you do this? You know, we got witnesses. Um, but yeah, it's out of love. It is because we love you that we're gonna get you. So just stand by for that. Stand by.
you want to see another disappearance?
Hey, Melikia, he cutting up.
If he disappear, I'm
um,
gonna put him right back. Don't worry.
there you go. Let's go. See, yes, it's great when the host is on the side of getting right and everything. All right. So first question: do we have a person to open up to? Um, I am learning to build a connection to a point where I am able to open up to a person in that manner, in that sense. I have a couple of people that I kind of do, and for me, it's literally like a baby wolf, like seeing the world for the very first time and like learning to trust its environment, learning to trust those around him. Um, because I've opened up to a person before, and I think I've started writing about it where my life became a revolving door. Every time I opened up to somebody, they left. Or every time I opened up, it became something to use against me. And I wasn't really seen or understood. So I just kind of like suppressed it, cut all the emotions off. I was like, this is just what we're not going to do. Switch, keep it moving. Um, and so I'm learning to have that like connection and relationship where I am safe to open up, to express those things. Um, it's also really funny because it makes for a great like conversational topic when people ask me about my scars. I was like, yeah, I have eczema. Um, Transparency moment, like 3, yeah, about 3, 4 years ago now. um, right at the start of my spoken word journey, I used to do a lot of self harm. So some of the scars on my arm aren't from like eczema, they're from me. And I don't do it anymore. Like, there are a lot more healthier ways to do things, but I also became a master of suppression. So like I said, something could be going on and you're going to get the same like hyper energetic person that you see. It's going to come up and say something way out of left field and everybody's going to be laughing and be like, why are you like this? I'm also going to be that same person that's quick to be like, hey, are you good? Like, what can I do to help make sure that you're good and afloat? Um, so I'm working through all of that, and it's a lot to kind of unpack. And I'm grateful to have connections and spaces where I'm able to like gradually just open things up. Shout out to you guys because, like I said, you and Malikia will blow up my phone if I like pull a disappearing act and be like, hey, are you alive? Are you okay? Like, what the fuck's like, what is going on? Talk to us. Like, every time I be like, well, this is what's happening. Why don't you say anything? I don't know. we love, like, y'all are quick to be like, we love you, like, talk to us. And like, I can't express how grateful I am for you guys. Same thing with like Rare Epiphany and Edwina. Like, I will go to war over Edwina. That's my big sis. I love her to death. I love her to life, not to death. I love her to life. And Rare is literally like, it's Rare. You can't not love Rare. Like, it is Rare. And like, um Rare will be like, look, your mom can catch these hands any day. If I see her, she gonna catch these hands, and I might like run her over and back that up. And then do it again, and then give her some more hands. Like, I
Allegedly. Oh my God, bruh.
allegedly, yes.
Just
She's gone
here,
again.
just literally taking out a spray can and tagging Malikia's podcast left and right. Just like, just
Oh my god, that was
why is he
great.
like this? This
Um,
this is why you stay in the abyss. You know that, right?
this is exactly why I stay in the abyss. But um, as far as like with the second question and like what works, I also don't. I have a thing about silence. Um, and it's taken me up until a couple of months ago to finally be in a space where I'm comfortable being alone with my thoughts. Um, like I said, I used to do the whole self harm thing. And then when I stopped, the compensation for that was I'm going to overwork myself so that I don't have to think about anything. I can just focus on the work. Um,
Can
and
I interject one thing right there? Because I think there are a lot of people, and once again, not to make this sexist, I think there are a lot of women who will misunderstand what you're saying in the sense, especially a man saying this, where you say you're going to overwork instead of, you know, leaving the opportunity for yourself to self harm. And the initial thought would be, well, why not just deal with the thing? And for you, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm sure a lot of men, I'm thinking it right now. You are dealing with the thing by not giving room for the thing to exist.
yep. And like, I had to break that down to Rare and doing it. Like, that's always been my thing. Like, I I work through it by working to not think about it, to not focus on it, to not address it. And I do that until I get to a point where I can be back at like a calm sea and it's essentially suppressed. It might take me a couple of days of like doing multiple 14-hour shifts and doing like absolutely physically unthinkable things that ordinarily you wouldn't do. Like, I'm going to go and be like, all right, let's go throw this 150-pound inflatable like it's nothing, or let's go and treat like unloading trucks or whatever like it's a relay sprint race, and I'm like carrying the heaviest things back and forth for like hours without taking a break. So I my work ethic is as unmatched as it is. It's uncanny. And some have even said that it's kind of frightening that I work as hard as I do for as long as I do. And I was like, look, I have a lot of demons that I just don't face on the regular. So until I can suppress them and silence them, I work. Um, but that's not healthy. And the other thing is that I do battle with depression, and anxiety. And it's funny that you were in the hospital for 2 days because thinking like, you were about to have like a heart attack and it was going to take you out. Um, Suppressed is not dissolved. It is still very much there. It's just at a point to where I can't acknowledge it and think about it. But the way my anxiety worked, every social event that we've gone to, every drip event, every outing, every work day, like I literally woke up and then 5 minutes later, it was like the entire world was collapsing. And it gave me like this super nauseous feeling, like I was shaking and I couldn't move after like being awake for 5 minutes. So it was like I took a couple of deep breaths to kind of like regulate it, but I was always anxious. And my doctor, like I started having shoulder pains where it was like I couldn't move my arm a certain degree or something like that. I couldn't do something with like my legs. And I was like, I'm getting all these injuries, like my body is breaking down. Um, I went, got an MRI, got an X-ray. There was like, there's nothing physically wrong with the muscles. There's nothing wrong with your joints. You're healthy. Just keep stretching it out. And then they were like, you said you have anxiety and depression, right? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, I feel like the anxiety is what's triggering the injuries because you are mentally saying that you are having these injuries as to why you can't do something, or these are all mental injuries. So now that I take medicine to kind of help with the anxiety, I don't have those injuries anymore. And it's kind of like balancing out where I'm a lot more present. Like I don't wake up feeling like the world is going to implode and like collapse on me. I went to Essential Saturday. This is, I don't think everybody picked up on what was going on, but Rare definitely did. I had a rough weekend, had a really bad fight with my partner at the time, and we ended up separating. So I showed up to Central Saturday, and like the first thing Rare did was walked over and gave me a hug, and then she's like, "Look, you are all over the place right now. I need you to center yourself." And I was like, I had a complete anxiety attack. Like I was having an internal meltdown. There was no way that I was in any sort of headspace to do anything. And she's just like, hey, that was the hurt you. Now you've been made aware of everything. You know what you have to do. Like, take a step back and give yourself the grace because you are starting your healing journey. So like that survival you is gonna be okay. Just we're here right now. Like everything else, just let it fade away. She held me. Um, and that's why I'll be like, look, I absolutely love Rare. um, that woman is beyond the eighth wonder of the world in so many words. But that moment of just stopping me.
Well,
Um,
can we stay in this moment for because I think there's something important here. And I noticed Malikia put in the chat. I can't read the chat, but you read it out loud. Um, where suppression is not um, resolution or something to that effect. I apologize.
Suppressed does not dissolve, or is it your mind's framework?
Correct. However, and the reason why I want to stay here with what Rare did for you in that moment to speak to how contrary men are taught from the time we pop out that suppression is what we're supposed to do.
Yep.
So, for people, especially our partners, to become upset with us when we're doing the thing that we literally have been taught is the coping, is the standard, is that whether or not it's by our fathers, by our family, by our whatever, by our culture, or however, vast majority of men are taught suppression is the way. And then when we arrive in a relationship or such and find that skill is not working beyond you per se, it may help you function, but it's not great for relationships or things like that. I don't think it's understood how deeply ingrained that teaching is. It tends to be looked at as simply a crutch or coping mechanism that's picked up to avoid dealing with the thing. And literally, we feel we're dealing with the thing the way we were taught. So I say all of that to say, when I say stay in this moment, how wildly different that must have been for you to be with Rare, who is giving you permission to do anything but suppress.
It was crazy, because I like she understood that my anxiety was like completely through the roof, and then she's like, "Hey, it's okay. Feel what you gonna feel, but let that all just like fade out. We're right here." And then like I kind of calmed down, um, and like she came, she checked on me, her and doing it, and then like they both kind of walked over and it was like, "Look, you don't even understand your full power just yet. Like it's okay." And one day you will see yourself in the way we see you, in the way that everybody like loves you, and you will love you the way that we all love you. Quiet, like little conversations like that, just without like the warrant, without seeking any sort of like feedback or like, yeah, like, like I love you guys too. They didn't do that. They literally just
We're there for you.
were there. And that kind of was like, okay, well, I'm getting to a point where I can't keep suppressing these things. Like the longer I suppress, the more I end up self-destructing.
Hmm.
So granted, it's a coping mechanism that we were taught, but it was a coping mechanism we were taught to, um it was a coping mechanism we were taught to survive, not to live.
Correct.
And I feel once we as men understand the difference between surviving and living, then we start learning the better habits of expressing ourselves, creating those safe spaces where we can feel and be what we are feeling, however it may be. That's when we learn to trust in our partners to verbalize that we're not okay. That's when we start to build the separate bridges of communication. That's where we start to be present. That's when we start showing up more for ourselves and for them, because then it's like, okay, now we can have a new layer to the mental conversation. A new bridge is being built where your partner is confiding in you where they're at mentally. Now you're feeling to feel safe enough to reciprocate that kind of conversation and be like, okay, well, hey, you had a bad day on this day. Like, let me be there for you. And then, a couple of days down the road, you could be having a terrible day. And it couldn't be that nothing grand happened. It's just one of those days where you're not feeling the best. You now can build that relationship stronger with your partner, saying, hey, kind of, I'm on a low vibe today. I'm not really there 100%. I'm not feeling myself. Um, I don't know why. I'm just not okay today. And that gives them the awareness to then in turn be there for you to like give you that reassurance that you're not alone. Um,
So one thing I would say to what you're saying, um, because I really do want to comment on it, and I feel you're laying it out so beautifully. Um, Malikia put something in the chat. I saw the last word of it was why, but could not read. Um,
I got you.
you know,
Got you. It's right
I
here.
okay.
She says, okay, teachers, help me understand this, please. when you came to understand that model didn't work, what was your mental response? Make it work? Was there another mental cue to seek another way?
Okay. So this is the part that I wanted, and this flows into what I was going to say slash ask, or at least discuss with you. You talked about, being taught to survive and everything being built up where eventually it could blow. And then getting to that point where you could communicate, but there's that in between space that is not touched on and I think is overlooked, not understood, but building that valve, building that outlet that has never existed. And going back to once again what you experienced with Rare Epiphany and how different and unique in everything it was. But it wasn't just about the fact that it was different of what was being afforded to you and what was being done for you, but also you now being in an entirely new environment of being allowed to express, but never having had that. And I may be overly dramatic with it, not saying you've never expressed before or anything like that, but I'm being more generic for everyone involved. Imagine being in an environment where you could express for the first time and having not done that, not necessarily knowing how to tap into yourself to do so. You know, I personally believe that there are many men, many people, but there are many men, since we're talking about men's health, who the only reason why they're in jail is because they could not bridge that gap.
Yeah,
It wasn't because they desired to be criminals. They were, this, that, or the other. They could not bridge that gap of being able to safely express the immensity of what's in them out because they
absolutely.
never did it before. And when you've never and it sounds on the surface so simple, like, well, can't you just sit and talk, or can't you just da, 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 da. If you've never practiced a thing, if you've never done a thing, then when you do it for the first time, and the first few times, no matter what it is, it's going to be foreign, even if it's you. So to Malikia's question and everything that you're saying about that moment, the building of that valve, that bridge, what is that like for you, brick by brick, creating
Um,
that pathway?
so I'm gonna start with Malikia's question in the chat first before I jump into that one. Um, so just want to also make sure that like we didn't miss any other questions. Um,
Because I can't read them. I cannot.
it's all good. So my mental response when that model didn't work, it's you spiritually you find yourself at a crossword road. It's like a fork in the road where you have to dig deep into your soul to see what you really want. Do you want to keep going down that same path and trying to make it work in another scenario where you're going to self implode and self destruct because you can't open up in those lanes and in that aspect and that like level? Or do you make the conscious decision to seek out the change so that you can do those like conversations so that you can start to like build that up brick by brick? So for me, um that weekend in Atlanta, I was like, well, I'm already going to therapy. I am taking the steps to heal that, but I'm tired. I'm tired of self-destructing. Like I am tired of pushing people away the minute they try to get close to me. I'm tired of just surviving I want to actually live. Life is short. It's not meant to be survived. It's meant to live. It's meant to have fun. It's meant to be happy. It's meant to be joyous. Um, I like reminded myself of like my long term goals, my like dreams from when I had dreams as a kid. I always wanted a family, always wanted to be married. I wanted to have the American dream in my own interpretation. And I was like, all of those things I can't have if I keep doing that same model of suppressing and putting like band-aids that weren't actually covering wounds, and they didn't even have the good elastic on them, so they weren't sticking to really anything. They were just minuscule fixes over bigger issues that didn't fix it or solve anything. And then kind of the solidifying decisions to start the change, to go through the healing, to start learning how to open up was I sat that evening after the event and like looked at myself in the mirror. And it wasn't that I not only didn't recognize who was there looking back at me, it's just there was so much dark surrounding that individual, um, that it was easily being consumed by just whatever was going to plague me, and that made looking at the light or walking in my purpose that much more difficult. So I was like, this isn't what I want. Like, I have a purpose to do something great. I can't do that if I'm being weighed down by all of these like dark moments and sad little blips. So I started seeking the other way, healthier ways, going to therapy, building those connections. And it's not an easy thing to build. Like I test the waters a lot, and I'll be like, hey, you know, give you a generic answer to see what your response is, and then like if you ask a prying question, I'll kind of like give you small doses. Um, I also am conscious about it because I'll be like, hey, if I dump this on you, are you in a mental space to handle it? Like I got a lot of baggage. Um, had a rough childhood, went through a lot of things. I got some baggage. Like as we unpack this stuff and we peel back these layers and layers as to who I am and why I am the way I am, I have to be mindful that it may be overwhelming at times. So like it's a lot of patience, it's a lot of grace, it's a lot of uncomfortable conversations that are like working their way out into the light and trusting that who I share it with, it has better intentions. It's filled with affirmations. It's filled with like those reassurances. It's filled with people just being like, "Hey, look, I understand. I'm sorry you went through this, but like that's not who you are. That's not what we think of you." Um, and just having like that security to kind of like be like, "Hey, it's okay." So like it's baby steps. Um, and yeah.
I appreciate that, and I want to see if our host wants to appear
Oof.
like the specter she is,
Did
and
you call me a specter? We're gonna fight real fast.
Kazam! She has arrived, y'all.
Not a good
and
specter.
maybe pose another question.
So the truth of the story is we are beyond the allotted hour. Um, I have I have so enjoyed men speaking on men's mental health, like getting to know you guys deeper and to see some of your mental inner workings. It's like, okay. And it's only opened up like 6,000 more questions. So I am not going to crack that can. What I will ask is, since this entire month is mental health month, if you two are able to come back and continue the conversation, because there's some specific questions I really want to ask. I'm not going to do that to you right now. And I will say this. Thank you. Thank you for being transparent. Thank you for not being afraid to talk about the skeletons, the circumstances, the mindsets, with fear of judgment or any of the stupid that could come behind it. Who cares? I
Well,
really appreciate you both saying yes. I value you, yes. I value you both as beautiful, wonderful men who are you guys. You crack me up. Getting to do life with you guys is it's so dope. Just to know you and the mischief that we three musketeers and six musketeers and seven musketeers get into is wonderful. So I am both grateful to know you and to hear you. I think the question that I would ask, and I would ask you to sum it in 60 seconds, what is the question that you would have liked to have been asked? That maybe should have been asked?
Elaborate on that a little bit more.
I
I
refuse.
okay. I I I I feel I know what you're getting to, but
I'm not getting to anything. I literally just want to know what is the answer to that question.
Get them.
No, I mean just seriously, like just honestly, like I have no lean in this question. I just really want to know.
what is the question I would have liked to have been asked?
That's to both of you. So both of you, either one of you got the answer. I'm listening.
You know what? I and I'm not going to speak for I'm not going to speak for Logan, but I'm curious if this is resonating and echoing in Logan the way it is in me.
Okay.
How that's never been a thought because considering someone to tailor their question for my needs as opposed to taking care of everybody else, it's like a wonder to think about what kind of question would I have liked to have been asked. Like, wow. um I guess if there was a question that might have opened up things or made me feel comfortable enough um to share. I don't think it would be a question, but I think if someone just said to me in all seriousness, you are enough in who you are with me right now. Do you know that?
Beautiful. I'm still going to hold your feet to the fire for the question, but I can wait. I'm patient. Logan, how about you?
I put at the end of that, do you know that? So technically it is a question.
We'll
He's
take it
not
to the
getting out of
council.
this.
Yeah, we'll take it to the council.
Um, we're gonna need you to come up with a different question,
Boom,
Scott.
boom.
So a question I would have liked to have asked other guys is, do you think, because this is a question I've asked myself, do you think that the suppression of your mental health creates a barricade in how you communicate?
Mercy. I am enjoying both of what you shared was truly, truly valuable. And I thank you for your time, for your attention, for your digging, your deeping, and the truth. Like for real. I'm
And,
grateful for the truth. Saba.
Thank you for inviting us. And one minor thing that I would say, not in correction, but in different perspective, you
Sure.
said, um, uh, we weren't afraid in doing it. I at least speaking for me, yeah, I did have fear and trepidation, but like I've learned from this wise woman who once dove out of a plane, whose name I will not mention.
Hilarious.
Sometimes you just do it afraid. You got to do it afraid, because if you wait to the moment that you're not afraid to do something, either that moment may never come, or when it does come, it's there because they're closing the lid on your box.
Thanks. Much appreciated. I'm going to send you guys back to the magical goo. Thank you. Much appreciated. And we will speak soon. Oh, wait a minute. Let me get a confirmation from our gentleman here. Will you or would you be willing to come back and answer some more questions? And this time I will not be abandoning you. I will sit with you and ask these questions.
Yeah.
Will there be snacks? Yes, I'll be
Hilarious. I will find a way to send virtual snacks.
here.
We'll work on that. Okay. To the goo you go. I'll be with you
Ciao.
guys in a minute. Give me a couple of minutes to wrap up here. Doop. And y'all. Okay, so I really do appreciate you guys' time and attention. Thank you for joining me for SXP Metamorphosis 365. Yes, we deviated. No, I probably need to stop talking that fast. I can breathe. How about that? One moment. We deviated from the normal movements of the show, but this was important. This was important. So, happy Men's Mental Health Month. Please take time to listen to the men in your life and ask the questions that they said ask at the end and the ones that kind of ran through the conversation. It's important. It's important. Okay. Love y'all. See you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will give you guys this too. I totally forgot that part. One moment. Blast Music 247. You definitely want to connect and follow. I think this is it. There we go. There is the QR code for you to tap, touch, and follow. Blastmusic247.com. Find it. And you want to do that for two reasons. One, if you are an artist and you like to have your music shared on a podcast. And then two, as a fan, because it's kind of dope to go find great artists and enjoy new art, as well as see what your current favorites are up to. Okay, so having said that, I'm going to call it complete and get my tail up off of this here thing right here. These gentlemen will be back, and I will keep you posted. Most likely, I'm going to ask them to come back next Tuesday. We will see, if not the following, the one after. But keep the conversation going. All right.